The President of the Supreme Court Venezuela summoned all candidates and representatives of political parties and must appear as of August 7th. In Colombia, expectations remain high after it was confirmed that there will not be an extension of the ceasefire between the Colombian military forces and the National Liberation Army, which ended on August the 3rd. In Palestine, at least 8 people were killed by the Israeli occupation army after attacks on the occupied West Bank cities of Aqaba and Jenin. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, the President of the Supreme Court of Justice, Caris Lía Rodríguez, confirmed the receipt of all the required documents to initiate a judicial process regarding July 28th elections. During the session, the President of the Supreme Court announced that all candidates and representatives of the political parties have been summoned and must appear before the judicial institution as of Wednesday, August 7th, together with the other organizations. She also warned that failing to comply with the judicial order will result in the legal consequences stipulated in the current legislation. Furthermore, she pointed out that those summoned must bring with them and submit the required information and answer the questions asked by the court.
By virtue of the foregoing and being the following case of national transcendence and of public order, this electoral chamber initiates the process of investigation of the consigned material. For a period of up to 15 days, which are extendable, for which it will make use of all the mechanisms available in our legal system for such purpose. Likewise, for the due consignment of all the electoral instruments, which are in the possession of the political parties and of the candidates. The following are hereby summoned, in which act they shall provide the required information and answer the questions posed to them by this judicial body in connection with this case.
On the other hand, the Venezuelan head of state announced that the WhatsApp communication platform is under the control of Colombian drug traffickers and the U.S. empire, which has been used to threaten Chavista sympathizers.
By WhatsApp, through telephone codes Colombia, Peru, Chile, and the United States, they are attacking the youth. They are attacking the social leaders of the CLAP, of the communities, of the streets, of the UBCH. They are threatening their families, the militiamen, the militias. They are threatening the communal councils, the communes. WhatsApp gave the list of Venezuela to the terrorists so that they could attack it. They are attacking the officers and the military family of Venezuela, the officers and the Bolivarian National Police. They are attacking the whole institutionality of the country, all the 5 powers. They are under attack by WhatsApp.
In other news, on Monday, the fall of financial markets in all continents caught the attention of Latin American countries after the Nikkei 225 index fell 12.4% and reached its lowest value since 1987 in Japan. In Mexico, for example, the dollar broke the 20 peso barrier in international markets, which is calculated by experts as a 5.20% depreciation with respect to August 2nd. While specialists such as the chief economist of Banco Base, Gabriela Siller, state that the Japanese yen is dragging the peso down and Argentine bonds are trading with a 4% drop in pre-market operations, suffering the impact of the global stock market slump. In Mexico, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs informed that President Andrés Manuel López Obrador requested Ecuador to grant a safe conduct for former Ecuadorian Vice President Jorge Glass due to his critical health condition. This is the first formal request for Quito to hand over Glass, accused of corruption, whose case led to the rupture of relations between Mexico and Ecuador on April 5th, after Ecuadorian security forces raided the Mexican embassy in Ecuador to capture the former vice president. Mexico also requested that while the safe conduct is being processed, Glass be released from prison and transferred to a place where his critical health condition will be attended. In Guatemala, cooperativism has become a model of economic autonomy for remote communities with a financial system. In addition, they are concerned with cultural rescue, as is the case with an experience in Santa Maria Teja in Ixcan, Quiche.
A Mayan ball game ceremony of the Ministry of Culture and Sports of Guatemala is presented in Santa Maria Cheya, Ichcan, Quiché. It stages fragments of the sacred book of the Quichés, the Popol Vuh.
There are codexes, meaning vessels, where it specifies what our ancestors practiced, and definitely this was a game that they played, practiced, and modified.
The ceremony is part of the 10th anniversary of a cooperative that, in addition to its economic activity, has been dedicated to promoting solidarity, social and cultural activities for remote communities.
The support to the people, to the communities, to the different peoples, must also be comprehensive. This is the contribution that cooperatives make by copying the cooperative principles that are being promulgated at present.
This financial option was created by farmers, domestic workers, and professionals, who, like most cooperatives, are part of the economic autonomy of the communities, according to a government official.
They are financial institutions that give people the opportunity to move their economy, where there are not even banks. Far from thinking negatively about cooperatives, they are definitely necessary institutions.
The efforts of FTS in Ichcan Quiché demonstrate the impact of cooperativism in several regions of the country, which are also generating employment, according to an official of a federation of cooperatives.
Cooperatives, apart from offering low interest rates and opportunities for growth through credit, we also consider them to be sources of employment and opportunities for many families.
There are more than 1,000 cooperatives registered with the National Institute of Cooperatives, of which more than 300 are savings and credit cooperatives, most of which serve the rural population.
Santiago Botón, teleSUR, norte de Guatemala.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Colombia, expectations remain high after it was confirmed that there will be not an extension of the ceasefire between the Colombian military forces and the National Liberation Army, which ended on August the 3rd. The dialogue table between both parties is at a standstill, and so far there is no green light for the talks to resume in its most recent position. The Liberation Army requested President Petro to sign a decree to permanently expel the group from the category of organized armed group. Analysts assure that this is the best moment for both parties to reach a peace agreement, since violence resulting from the conflict has affected the most vulnerable sectors of the country.
The National Liberation Army has not understood that it is necessary to take advantage of the months that Petro has left in the presidency, which are not many. So, if we do not emerge from there strengthened with a political movement that really responds to the aspirations of the popular sectors, the farmers, the workers, the neighborhoods, things are going to be really and extremely delicate.
In Argentina, studies revealed that almost 60% of Argentines live in poverty. According to a report of the Argentine Catholic University, data from the first quarter of 2024 showed that 55.9% of the population live in poverty conditions, while 20.3% of the population live in extreme poverty. This data shows that 1 out of every 5 Argentines does not have the minimum income to be able to live. Experts explain that these poverty levels correspond to the highest in the last 20 years and are the consequence of Milei's economic program based on currency devaluation, economic deregulation, recession, the fall of national production, and massive layoffs. In Bolivia, in the first half of the year, some economic indicators are beginning to recover despite the pressure and campaigns of the political opposition to increase the sense of crisis, and the financial system is already being pointed out as one of the pillars of the speculation process caused by the shortages and the increase in the value of the dollar. A correspondent, Freddy Morales, with the details.
Bolivia achieved a surplus in its trade balance as of June, the 6th month of the year.
Siendo este saldo de balanza comercial
We recorded a positive trade balance, being this one registered as of June $155 million, being the highest of the 2024 administration and reducing to a great extent the accumulated deficit, which reached at some point more than $400 million this year, but at this moment it is $272 million.
And despite various pressures to raise domestic prices, including persistent road blockades, inflation is still under control.
We registered a monthly inflation rate of 0.47% and a cumulative inflation rate of 2.98% for the year. Which were the most inflationary products? In this case, interdepartmental transportation, buses and fleets as a result of the blockades and conflicts that occurred during the month of July.
The political opposition denounces economic crisis due to the shortage of dollars and fuel.
In Bolivia, what is happening is the phenomenon of the neighborhood, that the grocer comes out and says tomorrow there is no bread and everybody goes to buy bread, and everybody buys 20, 30, 40 loaves. But those who didn't make it are not going to buy bread and are going to say, no, there is no bread in Bolivia.
The speculation in the dollar and fuel prices are intended to provoke a general price increase, but some positive indicators are still being maintained.
The profits of the financial system in June grew by 15%, 883 billion Bolivians. In dollars, that is $1.2 billion in profits in the financial system. What country that is in crisis has profits in its financial system? What country that is in crisis can pay its foreign debt in a timely manner? Which country in crisis can generate new alternative markets?
The central bank has insisted that it provokes official dollars to the financial system, but there is still a shortage of that currency, which has caused the appearance of a parallel market where it is sold at double the official rate. And that is the reference for the rest of the prices.
We have obtained a surplus in the trade balance, but the dollars that have come in have disappeared in the market by magic. We have to see and also follow up on who is taking out the dollars, who is doing it, what are the agreements with the banks, because that is where the speculation comes from. Let's be honest, it's not from the street, it is from the banks.
The government has denounced a persistent opposition campaign to destabilize the economy that began more than a year ago with a shortage of dollars, to which was added the excess demand for fuels, 60% of which are imported with dollars, while the Legislative Assembly keeps frozen more than $1 billion in foreign loans that could alleviate the situation.
Freddy Morales, teleSUR, Bolivia.
In the United States, a large wildfire in the state of California burned at least half a dozen homes and caused the evacuation of residents in the county of San Bernardino. In this regard, County Fire spokesman Eric Sherwin reported that the fire started in dry brush in the community of Little Mountain with an initial size of 5 acres but quickly grew to 54 acres. For his part, Sherwin also said that about 200 firefighters, 40 engines, and 3 hand crews, with the help of CAL FIRE, are battling the fire, while dozens of families have been evacuated so far. In the United States also, the passage of Tropical Storm Debby caused the death of at least 5 people in southern states. In this regard, local media pointed out that Tropical Storm Debby left 4 people dead in the state of Florida and 1 person dead in the state of Georgia, while hundreds of people had to be rescued from their flooded homes. It is worth noting that the weather phenomenon made landfall on the Florida Gulf Coast on Monday as a Category 1 hurricane, while on Tuesday weakened to a tropical storm and is slowly moving south of Savannah, Georgia, with a high risk of unleashing torrential rains and causing widespread flooding. In other news, at least 6 people were arrested in the United Kingdom on Monday night during a new day of rioting by far-right groups in several cities across the British nation. In this sense, local media highlight that 378 people have been arrested since July 30th amid riots instigated by far-right groups opposed to the government's immigration policies. In this sense, human rights organizations and social activists denounce that extreme far-right groups are spreading false information on social media to link immigrants to criminal acts while they ask their government to modify current immigration policies. Meanwhile, in Plymouth, one of the latest towns to be affected, Police Commissioner Ross Doe assured that violence and hate would not be tolerated.
I would like to reassure the community that we are fully resourced at this time with a strong police presence. Violence will not be tolerated, hate will not be tolerated, and we continue to work with our partners to keep the people of Plymouth safe. Our approach to this operation was to enable peaceful protests, but people who are intent on committing public order and criminal offence have and will be dealt with robustly.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, where you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. On Tuesday in Palestine, at least 8 people were killed by the Israeli occupation army after attacks on the occupied West Bank cities of Aqaba and Jenin. In this regard, Palestinian Ministry of Health also reported 3 wounded linked to the attacks in West Bank, one of them in serious condition. Meanwhile, the Palestinian Red Crescent denounced that Zionist soldiers also shot at ambulances to prevent them from reaching the area of the attack. On the other hand, 4 people were killed in a raid in the city of Aqaba, east of Tubas, including a 14-year-old boy. It is worth noting that since October, Israel has killed 613 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank.
A fighter jet attacked near the Saadiya traffic circle. They refused to allow ambulances and civil defense to evacuate the wounded. We appeal to the United Nations to evacuate the wounded.
The United Nations confirmed 650 new cases of child malnutrition in the Gaza Strip during the month of July, a 300% increase over the previous month. According to the organization, nutritional conditions are worsening and affect mostly children. This is due to access constraints, shortage of supplies, limited availability of products, water deficiency, sanitation, and the spread of diseases amid the constant Israeli siege. Figures estimate that in the month of July alone, only 8% of almost 50,000 children waiting for supplies in the north received any food. In the last 48 hours, 3 schools sheltering displaced people from Gaza were attacked, leaving dozens of victims. Russia's Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu held a meeting with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian in Tehran. The meeting comes amid an escalation in the region following Israel's assassination of Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh. Shoigu said Russia is interested in strengthening full cooperation with Iran. For his part, President Pezeshkian has described Russia as a strategic partner of the Islamic Republic, stressing that the expansion of relations with Moscow is a top foreign policy priority of his government. On Monday, the military government of Mali announced the closure of diplomatic relations with Ukraine, supporting the Russian diagnosis of the Kiev authorities. The note taken by the Malian government of the statements by the spokesman of the intelligence service of Ukraine, Andrei Yusov, signed by Territorial Administration Minister Abdoulaye Maiga, states that the Ukrainian attack on Malian territory caused the death of Malian soldiers in the city of Tinsuateni. According to the statement, these acts violate Mali's sovereignty, go beyond the framework of foreign interference, which is already reprehensible, and constitute an aggression against Mali. On Tuesday, the Japanese city of Hiroshima remembered in a well-deserved tribute the more than 100,000 victims of the U.S. atomic bombing of August 6 in 1945. Those present held a minute of silence in honor of the victims during the activity that took place in the Peace Park, near the hypocenter of the explosion. The ceremony recalled the exact moment when the plane B-29 Enola Gay of the United States Air Force unloaded the Little Boy bomb on the city, being the first nuclear device dropped on a target in the history of humanity. These attacks were the only ones of their kind to date that caused the death of at least 400,000 people, although the exact number is unknown due to the after effects of radiation.
El bombardeo atómico provocó una devastación sin precedentes.
The atomic bombing caused unprecedented devastation. This historical event is deeply heartbreaking for us because of the testimonies of the Hibakusha victims about the hellish anguish they experienced. Although it was unbearable for them to recall those memories, they have continued to describe the misery, driven by a strong aspiration that no one else should suffer. Today, 79 years after the bombing, we are losing the Hibakusha one by one. To pass on their last words to the next generation, we took several initiatives.
The tribute was attended by Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, who stressed that such events should never be repeated.
Los horrores y sufrimientos que padecieron los habitantes de Hiroshima.
The horrors and suffering endured by the people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki 79 years ago must never be repeated. The mission of Japan, the only country to have suffered a nuclear war, is to pass on the reality of the atomic bombs to the future generations, to uphold the three non-nuclear principles, and to make constant efforts to achieve a world without nuclear weapons.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.